Hello and welcome to Film Companion South. In this episode of FC Recco, we're going to be talking about Real World on Location in Collywood by Anand Pandian, who's a professor of anthropology at Johns Hopkins University. Okay, confession first. This is a rather personal book for me because on the back I have a blurb with David Shulman and Walter Murch. Walter Murch. So yes, this is a big deal for me, this book, even though I have nothing to do with its making. What's that? You want me to stop talking about myself and talk about the book instead? Okay. Okay, so why is this an interesting book? Because books about cinema typically focus on films that you know or directors that you already know about. But this book, Real World, happened because the author happened to find himself on the sets of various Tamil films being made at that point. And all of his experiences on the set, those moments become events that he talks about in these chapters. For example, Anand Pandian finds himself on the sets of Madrasapatnam and he's watching that colonial era railway set being built. And he talks to the cinematographer Nirav Shah. Here's an excerpt from that chapter. He calls for the camera, that is Nirav Shah calls for the camera, and here's what becomes visible through its rectangular frame. Amy ducking out of view behind the first pillar, then suddenly creeping up along its shadowy face. There's a small 300-watt arc light trained on this spot, its illumination broken up by lines of darkness through the use of a shadow cutter. There are policemen and others passing in and out of small pools of light on the other side of the pillar. Nirav says she's hiding from them, just trying to create a little bit of drama with the shadows. As Amy runs to the second pillar, the shadow of a wrought iron fence reaches across the station floor, cast by a platform-mounted light on one corner of the set. A smaller light makes a bright spot through which the policemen run, followed quickly by Amy. She remains fully within this beam once she reaches the pillar, where concern plays over the whole of her face. Shadow, 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 and then you will see her properly, the cameraman explains. This is mainstream cinema. You want the audience to fall in love with the heroine. So this is the type of book it is. It's almost anthropological, if you will, because it details not just the making of the movie, but also the place, the people, the setting, the social realities of that surround the production. We just saw a chapter in which the author hung out with a cinematographer. In the chapter with Siritai, he hangs out with the art director, Rajivan. Here's an excerpt. There are 17 welders, for example, who traveled here overnight by van from Chennai, wearing plastic sheets and vinyl hats to ward off the rain. They work with slivers of iron cut down with a gas-powered blowtorch. One of them has just stamped on a scorpion lurking in a corner of their tarpaulin. On the right, he shrugs. Good luck for us, bad luck for it. Down below, under the shelter of a sandstone overhang, the carpenters are examining some close-up photographs of axes and swords from Vikramarkudu. Vikramarkudu is the original from which Siritai was made. Working with small beams and plywood boards, they are expected to fashion wooden copies of these wooden copies. Further on, past a tangle of low brush, the molders are squatting around a pair of square plastic molds. Impressed upon the mottled surface of the ravine wall behind them, the molds are being replicated now with coconut fiber and more plaster. How can two small molds be enough to simulate such a large and irregular face of rock? We'll spread the mortar to make it work, one of them says, adding an explanation with a clever smile. It's like editing. Normally, when you talk to an art director, what happens is you'll typically say, we did this, but here you're getting into the nitty-gritty of how that was actually done. In another chapter, the director is trying to fix up an appointment with Srikat Prasad, the editor, and this is the SMS he gets from the editor. I suddenly feel this film may not be good for the purpose you're looking, as it is going to happen in a very haphazard way due to me and the production dates which keep changing. The edit is going to happen in bits and pieces and in few hours at a time. Unfortunately, I do not have a project which is continuously happening. I think you should try some other editor. So you get an idea of what it's like, the chaos around a film set. Things are not really as streamlined as you think they would be. So it's not about the glamorous side of filmmaking, the directors, the stars. It's about the unglamorous side of filmmaking, the chaos that surrounds a production, the day-to-day surprises and shocks in the process of filmmaking itself. And that is what makes this book so special. Some of the other films covered are Yuddham Say Billa, Tamil Padam, Payya, Vinnai Thandi Varuvaya, and a Selvaraghavan film that started shooting and never got completed. Actually, from the description, it sounds a bit like Malai Nerithu Mayakam, which was later made by Geetanjali Selvaraghavan. I'm going to read out a bit from that chapter. Selva, once a mechanical engineer, told me nobody wants to see plus plus or minus minus. Like Sergei Eisenstein has said to him, conflict is the fundamental principle for the existence of every artwork, but Selva says he hasn't heard of Eisenstein, only Einstein, and so we get to talking about other things, like what they would do here at this resort for another scene in the film. The art director now inside the guest cottage painting a wall with swirls of blue for an episode of Misfired Seduction, a scene, Selva says, that will propel the entire half of the film, plus minus plus minus. People are never going to believe that these two will live together, their desires pulling to opposite poles, the actor stripped down already into his boxer shorts and clambering eagerly into bed with a glass of champagne as the actress steps wearily out of the bathroom and fixes him with a look that passes from horror to disgust to despair to rage. So you think two people having sex is some kind of game? I know nothing about you. To have sex with someone I know nothing about. What, do you think of me as a prostitute or something? She screams. I can hardly stand. My whole body hurts. There's so much else you could have asked me. Dear, you haven't eaten since this morning. Can I get you something to eat? You look tired. Why don't you sleep? You said you had a headache. How is it now? Can I cut you some fruit? Not one damn bit of this. Instead, come lie down with me, you say, tearing off your clothes just like that, and you call yourself a man? So here we are witness to the actual shooting process itself, which is what Walter Murch says in his foreword, that Anand Pandian tries to capture the mysterious process of creation, whether it's composing or editing or writing or whatever else it is, the moment the spark of inspiration connects the creator to the various mysterious forces around him. So that's it about Real World. See you in the next episode of FC Recco, and keep watching Film Companion South.